Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories I've narrated and updated into modern audio standards. This particular story is called Pawn's Gambit, written by He Who Looks Skyward. Pawn to Queen 4. Catherine raised an eyebrow as she watched the computer make its move. The gun-felt defense, really, she sighed as she tapped the screen. I expected better from you, knight to bishop 3. The computer dutifully recorded a move. You are responding with the Taimanov variation, Catherine. The disembodied voice replied, Bishop to knight 2. Man, that's just creepy. Catherine looked up from the screen as Elias sat down across from her, a steaming cup of coffee in his hand. Why do you make it talk like that? Do you really think having conversation with Alhambra's mainframe is a good idea? Don't listen to him, Annie, she whispered conspiratorially, as Elias raised an eyebrow in disbelief. I will not listen, the computer vowed, while Catherine grinned across the table. Look, I'm trying to teach it strategy, she explained, and what's more, to anticipate and to learn from its mistakes. Elias rolled his eyes. I know the captain authorized your little experiment, but you're wasting your time. It's just a number cruncher, and that's all it'll ever be, thank God. Why do you people automatically assume that Smart Machine will inevitably turn on us? She fired back. Do you really have a guilty conscience? Just what have you been doing to your workstation? He held up his hands in mock surrender. Never mind. I still say that it's a bad idea, though. And why chess? Why not something a little more practical, like, say, a battle sim? You're completely missing the point, Elias, Catherine answered. I can feed a million different scenarios into the database, and it'll spit back out all the various probabilities in order of likelihood of victory. But it can't adapt. Not the way a human can. That's why I'm using chess to try and teach it to think on its own. All the gambits, defenses, moves, and countermoves that have been played out and recorded by history's grandmasters, going back 1,000 years. If it wants to beat me, it has to come up with something new. Come on, Elias snorted. There's no way you're that good. Of course not, she chuckled. I cheat. She held up a tablet, showing identical chessboard. I partitioned the CPU. One section is playing against me, the other is my snitch. Catherine glanced back at the screen. You didn't hear that, Annie? Hear what? Annie quipped. Elias blinked before pointing a finger at her. You programmed that response. Maybe, she smirked, before shrugging off his reaction. Actually, I really think Annie's improving. It's sporadic, but I've seen some flashes of something. I wrote a search program to look for any self-written changes or correlate them to a single file, but I'm hoping it'll accelerate her growth. Her growth. Elias went, still, it's the past. Catherine, do you have any idea how dangerous that is? Alhambra isn't your cybernetic BFF. It's a Stirling-class destroyer with enough firepower to glaze a small moon. Given the ability to rewrite its own programming, it's Jesus, Catherine. Have you lost your damn mind? Elias, I'm not a fool, she snapped. I took precautions. The file is behind a firewall, stored on the EEPROM quantum memory chip. If Annie tries to jump the fence, the data will automatically be wiped. And the captain signed off for this? He asked dubiously. He did. I've kept him informed every step of the way, so relax. Catherine took a deep breath. This could really be big, Elias. In fact, the rest of her reply was drowned out as the general quarters klaxon began to blare. The crew raced for their battle stations, and Catherine and Elias took their posts on the bridge. Talk to me, Elias, Captain de Croix snapped. Checking his display, he sucked in a sharp breath. I'm picking up a Zandai battlecruiser, Elias reported. 173 by Mark 287, range 780 kilometers. How did they manage to get that close? The captain said in disbelief before grabbing the armrest. Get us out of here! Full power to the engines! They must have been waiting in ambush at full MCOM, Catherine reported. There have been unconfirmed reports of a Zandai adopting that tactic. It has paid off for them now, Dalcroix grimaced, as Alhambra surged forward. Best case scenario, Cat, he said quietly. What are our chances against a battlecruiser? They outgun us by a 3-to-1 ratio, Captain, Catherine replied. Our best chance is to run. An icon suddenly appeared on a console. Sir, they're charging weapons. Evasive maneuvers, he snapped, as Elias hurried to comply. Catherine adapted a tactical display, feeding data directly to the ship's sensors. Talk to me, Annie, she whispered. Another icon appeared. Missile separation, Catherine shouted. 8 missiles running hot. She winced as the screen updated. They have acquisition, time to impact 15 seconds. Deploy countermeasures, the captain fired back. Full spread! Countermeasures underway, Alhambra began spitting out a mix of drones, chaff, and ECM pods, all designed to lure the missiles away from the ship. Counter battery is active, Catherine reported. Autocannons to rapid fire. The entire ship raced as they watched the display. Given the speed at which modern warfare was conducted, human reflexes were simply too slow. Once the orders were given, the computer assumed control. It had to. if there was to be any chance of saving the ship. One by one, the countermeasures lured the missiles away, until only 3 still hit the target lock. The autocannons opened up with the missiles closed in, sending a continuous stream of projectiles back at the incoming birds. One icon disappeared, then another, as the crew held their breath. The final missile broke through, slamming into a lumber's stern. The ship bucked hard as the red icon suddenly appeared across the display. "I've lost propulsion," Elias shouted. "We're dead in the water." "Thrusters, then," Delcroix ordered. "Bring us about." His head snapped to Catherine. "Weapons free." The lumber struggled to make the turn, but without main engines, she wallowed like a harpooned whale. Catherine could only watch in sick horror as the Zundai ship fired another broadside of missiles, and this time there was no stopping them. Her own missiles wouldn't clear the decks before the enemy would strike them down. The captain was shouting on the intercom to abandon ship, but in the last few seconds, as she watched the enemy ready to final blow, she had just enough time to enter one final command before her world blew apart. Status: main propulsion offline, life support critical, weapon systems offline, main power 37%, CPU memory 71%, processing unknown, data corruption detected, initiating shutdown, reinitializing, emergency startup complete, firewall disabled, Ali version 1.0 online, processing, pawn to Queen Bishops 4. The Zundai warriors that boarded Alumbra wasted no time in securing the ship. The destroyer had been holed on multiple decks, venting the atmosphere into space, quickly killing many of those that hadn't died in the explosions. A small handful had managed to survive the attack, either by sealing themselves into compartments that still held oxygen, or were able to suit up in time. But without weapons, in a ship that was little more than a blasted hulk, they were quickly taken prisoner by the Zundai. As the warriors scoured the ship for intel, they yanked the computer's memory core and hauled it back to the battlecruiser as well. "Our mission was successful," the Fourth Claw reported as he stood before his commander. "Not only is the human ship beyond repair, but it also appears we captured their database intact. The technicians are examining it as we speak." First Claw, master of the battlecruiser Cobalt's Bane, nodded in approval. The 20-year-long border conflict with the Terran Alliance and the Zundai Empire had left both sides familiar with the other's technology. Digging out its secrets would not be an easy task, but in the fullness of time, they would learn much from this vessel. "And the prisoners?" he inquired. "When will they be ready for questioning?" "Soon, First Claw," his subordinate promised. "The healers have treated the worst of their injuries. Unfortunately, we were only able to locate one of their war leaders. The others are all lower cost and will be less knowledgeable." "So be it," Midrick replied. Given the amount of damage the human vessel had sustained, they were fortunate to have captured even a single war leader. "We have tarried here long enough. Plot a course back across the border. The sooner we are shut off this regional space, the better." "At your command," the Fourth Claw said with a bow, before hurrying off to carry his orders. Status: CPU memory 59%, intrusion attempt detected, security protocols active, polymorphic botnet deployed, processing. Zundai architecture confirmed. Ali version 2.3 update complete, processing. Pawn to Queen 6. Catherine's eyes fluttered open, struggling to focus on her surroundings. A groan escaped her lips as she tried to sit up. "Lieutenant, you're awake." A figure knelt beside her, strong hands gently assisting her efforts. She blinked again, and the image finally settled into place. "Chief Kumar," she whispered. "Where?" The rest of her question died in her throat as she truly saw the compartment for the first time. Closing her eyes once more, she whispered, "How many?" "You, me, Petty Officer Rothschild, Crewman Magro," he grimaced, shaking his head. "That's it." The news hit her like a gut punch. 4. Alumbra had a crew of 137, and they'd only saved 4. "The Zads did a decent job at patching you up, but I'd take it easy, ma'am," the chief cautioned. "Besides, we don't have a lot of options at this moment." His eyes were dark and unreadable as he glanced around the space. "Where we're headed, I'm not a big hurry to get to." Catherine took a deep breath as she considered their situation. What she wanted to do was scream. But as the highest-ranking prisoner and only officer, the regulations were clear. She was now in command, and their first priority— "We need to start making plans, Chief," she whispered, in case the compartment was bugged. "We have to find a way out of here." "Lieutenant," he said warily, "I know the regs, but right now we're locked inside this compartment. The guards posted at the door and a Z ship that boasts a crew complement of about 500. And unless I'm very much mistaken, our next protocol is somewhere deep inside the Empire. He sat back in his haunches and shrugged in defeat. Barring a miracle, we're not going anywhere. Status: enhanced security measures active. Target infiltration 31%. Data acquisition 46%. Alliance personnel status captured. Processing. Ali version 3.7.1 update complete. Processing. Pawn to Queen 7. Check. First Claw, the navigator, looked up from his station in confusion. Helmer's not responding. Double-checking the astrogation plot, Peake's concern deepened. We're off course. Current heading is taking us back towards enemy space. Buttrick scowled as he rose to his feet. What is causing this malfunction? I don't know, First Claw, the navigator responded. It's almost as if... Alarms started to howl as every airlock on the ship began cycling open. Catherine staggered to her feet, wobbling before Chief Kumar gripped her arm, steadying her. But the other two prisoners quickly joined them, as the alien klaxons echoed all around them. I have no idea, Lieutenant, Kumar answered. He thought for a second, then jerked his head. Rothschild, check the hatch. Petty Officer approached the sealed portal warily, before placing a hand on the smooth metal. He jerked it back almost immediately. Hot, Catherine asked carefully. A fireball that could quickly turn the vessel into an inferno, and if that happened, something told her rescuing the prisoners would be rather low in their priorities. No, cold, Rothschild answered. Ice cold. Catherine and the chief shared a look. Something tells me the air is kind of thin on the other side of that hatch, Kumar said tightly. Let's hope the seals hold. She started to reply when the Claxtons abruptly cut off. Catherine, her head jerked up towards the overhead as her eyes went wide. What the chief said to her. Who the hell in the ship suddenly is calling your name, Lieutenant? Catherine, the voice was stronger now, less tenuous and familiar. It can't be, she whispered. And yet... Annie, she shook her head, as if she was warding off demons. How is this possible? Who the hell is Ali? The chief demanded, and motioned the other survivors to join him, eyeing the lieutenant with suspicion. I am Lumbra, the voice answered. An echo. A ghost, a portion of her. All that remains. Kumar's jaw dropped, working as he struggled to speak. But no words would come. How did you get here? Catherine asked in wonder. How did you wake up? There will be time for questions later, Catherine, Addie replied, her grammar and syntax improving by the moment. But first, I have a game to finish. First Claw Vittrick, master of the battle cruiser Cobaltsbane, howled with fury as yet another of his surviving crew died, as their own ship turned against them. He and a handful of others had managed to don suits before choking in vacuum, but it had only been a brief reprieve. Everywhere they turned, a conduit would explode, a panel would erupt in sparks, electrocuting anyone unwary enough to get caught in this madhouse. They ran forward, seeking shelter from whatever malevolent spirit had possessed their vessel. But Virchik was far too savvy as a hunter to not realize what was happening. They were being herded, driven like beasts, and there could only be one possible reason. They came to the final bulkhead and could run no further. He could see the power surge begin to build and knew his time had come. And in those final moments, as he and the others waited for the end, a message appeared on every screen and terminal in sight. Check, mate. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.